My tarred brain is basically a toy box. It's all my favorite things. Speaking of my favorite things, Nicholas Rekieta, Rekieta Law, a small law firm in southern Minnesota. He is making preparations, making plans, conspiring to return to the mainstream. Here's what he has to say on his locals channel. Stream time is coming. Hey guys, just dropping an update. Streaming will return very soon. I have Ryan, the editor, helping build out voices for the super tip system, so that should be fun. In the meanwhile, I'm just working on keeping this house moving. Kids' crazy schedule is still in effect until the end of the school year. Some combo of Kayla and I drive about 120 miles every day, getting them to various activities. This is a lot to do given all the time that I spend paying off the media and earn such glowing coverage. Lamau. Really looking forward to next week. I have a couple of big things happening. I hate waiting on government for everything. I will be sentenced on April 18th, and I really hope that's when I can finally start moving forward with life again. See y'all very, very soon. There's a lot of shit happening in April. I want to say that the Greer thing has a very unusual scheduled hearing in April. The Donkey Kong lawsuit with Billy Mitchell will have a verdict hearing on April 1st. And Rekieta is also getting sentenced in April 18th. So April is a big month this year, chat. Keep your calendars marked for April. Then he made rice, and he posted this on the internet. Oh, he even has little chopsticks. Oh, nice. Yep. That's rice. Next. SteelToe morning show. Okay, this was a big deal, and for some reason, I was not informed of this, and I'm very disappointed in my forum. Listen here, chat. If something is interesting, and I don't give a f if you think it's a small deal, if something's interesting, you have to post in the community happenings thread. Because it's like, how the f did this not get brought to my attention immediately? Aaron Imholte, who is generally a reliable narrator in certain things, has said that the Kayla revenge case has concluded very favorably to him. He says that if you remember, during the height of the Rekieta stuff, Aaron immediately fumbled and sent a nude picture that he had received of Kayla to a LawTuber, and then Nick filed a complaint with the police, and then they actually pursued it. It's like a high-ranking misdemeanor to do revenge in Minnesota. And he was arrested for revenge. His mugshot's on the internet. I think it's even down there. Yep, that's him arrested for revenge. And he's been going through that at the same exact time that Nick's been going through his case. And it finally settled. And what it settled with was a $50 fine and a conviction for a petty misdemeanor, I think is what it was. Down from a gross misdemeanor, if I'm getting that terminology correct. And part of the reason why they settled is, according to Aaron, that Nick Rekeita was extremely annoying. And they didn't want to pursue the case anymore. Now, he could be lying. That sounds like something, if you're going to tell a half-truth to make a more interesting story, that sounds like the point you'd want to harp on. But from his side of things, he said that in the initial complaint that the state received, almost all the testimony was given by Nick Rekeita. So the police took a couple notes from Kayla, who was like, yep, that was me. He has an image of me, and he probably shared it. That picture sounds like the picture I gave him. And then Nick Rekeita gave him like this trauma dump of like all the reasons why he hates Aaron Imholte. But I just thought, like, wow, $50 for Kayla's nudes, huh? That's the going rate in Spicer, Minnesota. I don't know if I should be disappointed in the system or in Rekieta. I assume in Rekieta. I feel like that's the more appropriate party to blame in this. By the way, apparently he's returning as... I don't even know what the Dabbleverse is, but apparently Rekieta wants to get involved in the Dabbleverse and show the Dabbleverse the fried rice. If you know what the Dabbleverse is, leave a comment below. Leave a comment below and tell me what the Dabbleverse is. I don't know, chat, but apparently he's involved in that. Next. So, Nick Rekeita. Nick Rekeita is scheduled to have a sentencing hearing on next Friday, the 18th. I'm not sure what the broadcast rules are for that. I don't want to be Ethan Ralph. So we'll see if I can talk about that live. If not, we'll wait for the verdict, which is very interesting because once Nick Rekeita is found guilty, then his presumption of innocence, which protects certain things of evidence from being released to the public, is over. And I think I'm so dedicated to this that I will sue Minnesota if they do not oblige me with the body cam footage after this. Because there's once he is guilty, there is no rule that explains why the body cam footage should be withheld from the public. So I will do everything possible, everything that my attorney is willing to do for basically nothing. I'll allow him to pursue whatever he wants, which may involve suing Minnesota for the footage. The issue has been is that they don't release it before the person is found guilty or before it's entered into evidence. So if the state entered it into evidence, then it would be public. And if he's not guilty, they won't release it in order to not harm his defense from the public, basically, so that jury selection is easier. But once he's guilty, or if it had gone to trial, if it was entered in evidence, we'd get it. So we're going to try again. And we'll also know exactly what the consequences are for giving a child, basically. Well, probably not much. In the meantime, Rekieta is having more issues, allegedly. So a while ago, and this has been going on for so long, I feel the need to recap. Nick Rekeita got into a white trash argument with somebody named Aaron Imholte. And one of the things that Aaron accused Rekieta of doing while they were doing drugs and having is he stole his laptop and gained access to his Gmail account to spy on him. And when this accusation first happened, I raised an eyebrow at this, and I said, that's a felony. If you access something on a computer that you're not supposed to, even if it's unprotected, even if there's no password whatsoever and it's just sitting there in front of you, if you access any computer remotely or directly without permission, and you know that you're not supposed to have access to it, basically, you've committed a hacking offense. That's our federal definition for hacking on the Computer Fraud Abuse Act or whatever. So my first thought when I heard that he had to access his Gmail account through his computer without permission was that he's committed a felony and you might actually want to report that to the FBI. Well, many months later, supposedly, according to Aaron, who is not necessarily the most reliable narrator in the world, but who for the most part is batting pretty close to 100, he says that the FBI is investigating Nick Rekeita for a Computer Fraud and Abuse Act violation for accessing his email account. And there is some evidence that, in particular, accessing certain, because I think he maintained access even after they stopped being friends. And Nick supposedly used his access on the Gmail account to read confidential attorney privilege letters, which is a serious ethical issue. And that could cost him his legal license moving forward if he ever wanted to practice law again. One of the points of evidence that have just come out, thanks to Alyssa Clips, is that Alyssa sent Aaron Imholte an email. And shortly after she sent Aaron this email, she got a message from Rekieta saying, "Oh, Alyssa, so butthurt you sent our DMs to Aaron to hurt me. Why don't you send him your nudes like you did to the guys in my Discord? Make sure you take his money." So that was his message. And it kind of evidenced what Aaron is saying, that there might be a federal investigation into Rekieta for computer abuse issues, which just compounds his already shitty situation. So, especially if he accessed any kind of attorney-client privileged information of a opposing counsel, like that's a big problem. So, that's a little update on Nick Rekeita. So, I have really big news. I'm probably going to be one of the first people talking about it just because the timing is so perfect. But on Wednesday, this filing came in. And here's where we're at in the Rekieta stuff. So if you don't know, like late last year, or the middle of last year, he got arrested for cocaine possession, firearm possession, and the presence of cocaine. And his daughter tested positive for cocaine metabolites in her hair, indicating that she had ingested cocaine in some way at some point. So he went through family court. I think he's getting custody of his children back. It might be supervised custody where they check in on him every so often. He was facing a lot of years in jail because he had so much cocaine on him, but he's a first-time offender. So we were all watching the case, and then eventually he took a plea deal in January, and we've been waiting to see what the terms of the plea deal are, and what he will have to do. And we didn't know what the state had. The state has a pre-sentencing independent body that looks at the facts of a case and suggests to the court on behalf of the prosecutor and the court what the pre-sentencing committee believes that should happen to the defendant. And then the defendant is allowed to argue if that's too harsh, and then the judge makes the final binding decision. So in this, we actually got to glean some details about what the pre-sentencing committee had suggested in the case of Nick Rekeita. And what they had suggested was 30 days in county jail, 80 hours of community service, and 5 years of probation, which is pretty heavy. That is pretty heavy. Nobody expected that he would get a jail sentence at all. He argued that the community service should be dropped, that the jail should be waived, and that the probation should be reduced to 1 year. And supposedly there was going to be a hearing today, and it was unknown when this would come out. But chat, I'm very pleased to inform you that before the stream started, we would get the news of the sentences, and it is 30 days in Candido County Jail, and the 80 hours of community service was upheld, and also the 5 years of probation was upheld. However, caveat, it says here that the 30 days confinement may be deferred with probation. So he is sentenced to serve 30 days in jail in August, but it can be deferred if he complies 100% with probation. In fact, I think that it's contractual. So if he does manage to stay 100% in line with the probation officer and gives them no reason to complain about him whatsoever, then he may be able to avoid any jail time. But it's on the table. It's like the sort of Damocles dangling over his head. And quite frankly, it is embarrassing that he got the sentence at all, because he told people up and down he would serve no jail time, and he's been sentenced to jail time. So literally, if he gives his probation officer any reason whatsoever, they're going to be monitoring him constantly. They're going to be checking his piss at random. They're going to have patches on him that he has to turn in and wear all the time. So if any alcohol is found in his system, if any intoxicants of any kind show up in the system, if he does anything that is against the terms of his probation at all, he is going to jail. And as a matter of fact, chat, at this very moment, I have asked our attorney, so I need to turn that off. I've asked our attorney to submit to the Candido County Police Department our request for video cam footage. Minnesota state law prohibits the release of footage except where there's consent and except where there is guilt. So now that there is a guilty party, as long as the investigation is formally closed, there is no legal basis for the state of Minnesota or the county to deny us our request. I told you it would be a waiting game, and if they deny us because they have no legal basis, we may be suing them, because I have a feeling that my attorney might be willing to do a little civil rights lawsuit, pro bono, as they say, for the charity and goodwill of all mankind. Chat. I am 100% convinced we're getting that footage. Shouldn't have said that I wouldn't get it, because I'm going to get it. I'm very confident in this. We'll see. It's not 100% in my control, but I'm going to do everything that I can, chat, for you, my audience, for my lovely viewers, who deserve to know how their justice system works, and how police interactions are carried out. It's a public service, a public good, on a noteworthy, newsworthy person, chat. Okay, let's talk about Rekieta just a little bit. Unfortunately, PvP and Andy Worski, they can make an 8-hour stream out of anything, I swear to God, because they just watch like the stream and they have to pause it every 30 seconds to like correct the record on the fly. I don't have that in me. I like to like watch something that's 3 hours long take a time step out of it, and then just be like, look, this is the best part of the whole video, and it sums it all up. So I'm doing that again. Rekieta put out a video as his first stream back. And this first stream has set the stage for absolute catastrophic failure, okay? This is the one part that I want to clip. It's a 4.5 hour long stream, but I feel like this actually summarizes everything perfectly. You ready?
What's funny, what is legitimately comical about some of the criticism, there's a bunch to legitimately criticize me for. Again, I made a bunch of bad decisions. I made some really fun decisions, but I made a bunch of bad decisions and deserve some criticism on all of it.
This is where I gave up. I stopped watching the stream after he said this because I was sick of him. But this is what really caps off his new mood. And I can best summarize this as he has not learned a single thing. And he takes no accountability for his actions. If he tries to indicate otherwise, he is being facetious or duplicitous, because he does not. Every single time he even comes close to admitting fault, he has to put an asterisk next to it and try to own the A-logs. Like, sure, I went off and did some goofy stuff, and I had a ton of fun doing it, but now there's consequences to that. Note what he's not saying. He's not saying, I up. I made bad decisions that I regret, and I do not want to do them again. I don't want to make those same mistakes again. He's saying, I made some bad decisions under contemporaneous wisdom and logic, under how most people would think, but you know what? I sure did have a blast, and I learned a whole lot while doing it. And like, that's not an apology. That's not a lesson learned. And he's still smug. He's still shitting on the justice system. He's literally... And he messaged me, by the way, for something I'll explain in a second. And I told him to this in the message, because when he messages me, what I do is I just ignore all the bullshit, and I just respond to the one thing that I actually want to address. And I drew this comparison. I remember watching a video about drug addiction, and specifically the fentanyl epidemic. And I learned that there are people that keep methadone on them at all times, so that if they see somebody dying of fentanyl, they can hit them with the methadone, which stops the processing, the metabolizing of opioids, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what happened. And then it will wake them up. It will stop an overdose. So this is like a thing that exists. And I remember talking to somebody who worked in medicine about this. I'm like, what do you think about people that carry methadone? Narcan, sorry, not methadone, Narcan. Narcan is what wakes up the sleepy fentanyl zombies. And he said that he would never carry Narcan on him, and he would never use it to save somebody's life. And I thought, that's weird. Like, I understand not wanting to, not having a lot of sympathies for drug addicts. I can understand not carrying it, but like, not, if you had it, why wouldn't you use it? And he said, when you wakes up a fentanyl zombie with Narcan, he gets angry with you immediately. He's close to dying because the opioids are murdering him. But it's the best high he's ever had in his entire life. He's in a world of bliss, sandwiched between two velvet blankets on the most comfortable down furnishings you could ever imagine, floating in the sky at a perfect 72 degrees with the sun kissing his skin. He's in the best mindset he could ever possibly have, even though he's on the verge of death. And if you hit him with the Narcan, he wakes up from that, and he's a homeless man in pain on the street, and he gets violent and angry with you. And while watching Rekieta talk about his experience with the justice system, I was reminded a lot of this conversation, and I'm thinking, like, the way he talks about how much fun he had and how he made some silly decisions, but oh my God, it was so fun. I'm like, you're a drug addict whose buzz got killed. You're not concerned about the custody of your children. You're not concerned about what damage you did to your family or your life. You're upset that someone shook you up and got you awake and on your feet again because you killed your buzz. And it's like, I'm like, this guy right here, he's the same exact guy that was off to Anime Sucks, Cope and Sneed's Fat Dragons like a year ago. He's the same exact person. Has not changed, has not learned anything. He's might be a little bit more careful moving forward, but there is 0% chance. There's not a chance in hell that this guy is going to make it through 5 years of probation without up again. Because in his mind, he's done nothing wrong except get caught. And it's actually the system's fault that they treat people like this, because he was just having a good time in his own house. And, you know, that's why I didn't bother picking out like a bunch of timestamps. I don't want to go line by line and listen to him smugly preen about how he got away with it in his mind. It's like, because I don't have to. I don't have to epically own him line by line, because watch, set your clocks. You got 5 years on this shit. You can make your own determinations, but I give him maybe 2 or 3 years, because there's no way he's gonna, with this mindset, there's no way that he's gonna make it through 5 years. So I told him, I said, I'll be vindicated again. You haven't learned shit. And what he got upset about, by the way, was this. The Minnesota Public Records person dropped information that we didn't have, which was that someone had found that April was living in Wilmer, which is near where he lives. And it had been said publicly that April was gone, the cover was over, that she had moved away and they were no longer together. She's like 15 minutes away from where he lives. So there's no way that they're not seeing each other. And because she moved out, Kayla may not know. So when he messages me asking me to delete this post and ban Minnesota Public Records for stalking as like a site violation, I think it's because he's afraid that Kayla's going to find out that he's still with her. And I said to him, he messaged me, by the way, Easter Sunday. On Easter Sunday, he's in Signal telling me that I have to delete this post because it's a site violation or whatever. And I'm just like, are you not with your family at church? Are you not doing anything special today? He messaged me at like 1, like noon to 1, like exactly when somebody who with a family would be at church with their family on Easter Sunday. And I was dumbfounded by it. And I said something else. Not just that he reminded, I told him the Narcan story. I called it methadone, so I was wrong, but Narcan. I told him, stop cheating on your wife, because I know that's why he was upset about that. He got caught again. And he said, I've never cheated on my wife. She always consented. And it's like in his head, even the polycule shit was still like justifiable. His infidelity, you know, in the Bible, he says that I don't think he's religious anymore, but in the Bible it says that when two people get married, their souls join. You literally join, you fuse souls together. And you can't like consent to being cheated on in that context. I guess you can say in the liberal progressive concept of consent, then sure, that's fine. But for him, he shouldn't be okay with that. But he still maintains that it was all perfectly above board and shit. And honestly, it's down to me. It's like, because at that point he hadn't streamed. I'm just like, there's no way that he's still like this, that he's still this smug asshole. You know what he did? This was the weirdest part. I was driving at the time, so I didn't respond promptly to his messages. But he sent me a message after I told him do I even have this? Might have been too long ago. Oh, I only sent him one message, so it was all one message. And he sent me 2 messages in reply. I'm not going to read them verbatim, but I then replied to that saying, your contempt for my good advice has already been well established, but within the next 5 years, I will be vindicated a second time. You have no credibility, and I believe nothing you say. Because he was trying to persuade me of all this other shit, like how, you know, XYZ. And I'm like, I don't believe anything that you say, bro. You have no credibility. You lied to my face for years. I simply have zero trust that anything that you say ever is true. And he didn't reply to this, or he did, but you know what he said? He said, you are a good person. And then he deleted this message. So I remember seeing it because it was a notification that popped up on my car's dashboard. And then if I look at it now, it says this message was deleted. So I don't know what kind of manipulation tactic that is to say you're a good person and then delete it. Like, really bizarre behavior. Can only come from a brain completely scrambled like eggs by drugs and alcohol. Really excited to see the next up from this. We'll see. Because I was kind of moralizing to him a bit, and I think he was like, "Oh, you're such a good person," like eye rolling sarcasm, but it's just it's so silly. And then he deletes it, like he doesn't even want that to be misinterpreted. Like I don't actually want him to think that he's a good person, or maybe he doesn't want me to think that he's salty or some shit. It's just like I don't know.